Welcome back to the Castle Grounds Apiary. Today we are going to show you how to install Hexacell Bettercomb. So some of you may or may not be familiar with a product called Bettercomb by a company called Hexacells, I believe. And basically it's a synthetic wax foundation, and it's basically exactly what it looks like. It's man-made, full depth wax cut to the shape and size of a deep frame. So you do need the wires on these deep frames. I'm not going to go over how to build the frame or how to wire it. I actually have another frame building video already posted. So I'm just going to go over the basic steps. Now what you see here is what I started to make. It's what's made by the Bettercomb company, or the Hexacell company, or it's what they suggest. It's basically a block with a positive and negative lead with flat cable strands that you can slide the edge of your frame down, so you can basically rest this like this and slide it down. However, what I found is that you can save yourself a significant amount of time, effort, and a small amount of money, and just use a 12-volt battery. So much faster, so simpler. I wanted this to work because I thought it was cool and it was neat. Waste of time. Just use a battery. So once you have a battery, a charged 12-volt battery, I just have a old lawnmower battery that I put on my trickle charger, and it's good enough. Then you layer foundation on a shim, and for a shim I just took a piece of the box that the comb came in and I set it on it. And the reason you do that is so that when you depress the frame over it, it pushes the wax into the frame all the way, and it's as simple as that. So to get started, rest your frame on top of the wax, and what I find works best, and I don't know if it's because our frames are a little on the small side or if they just make the wax on the large side, I have to take and stretch it to get it started, just until the wire comes in contact with the wax. Then you take your battery clips and you clip it on the side, and whenever you do this, there you go. So that's going to get hot in about 10 seconds. Whenever you clip it, you need to make sure that you're clipping it at the beginning and end of the way you wire it. If you were to come over here and do it on this side, what would happen is you'd get inconsistent heat. So it might get real hot here, but not so much here and here, because that's farther away. Whenever you clip it on both ends, you get heat all the way through the circuit that you're creating. So as you can see here, it starts to get hot and melt, and you don't even have to touch it and it'll start to sink into the wax. But then what I do then is I take and stretch and push it again. And sometimes you have to push it pretty hard. Again, if you don't glue your frames, you may break them doing this. So just be careful and take your time and make sure you've used glue to put your frames together. At this point, I stand it up, and even though we have the shim down here, it's still more on this side than on this side. So then I'll take like a little piece of flat scrap wood, and while the iron or the wire is still hot, I'll run along the back side and I'll just gently push it forward, and I'll just make sure, I'll run my fingers around and make sure it's consistent. And I'll do the same thing on the side. And if you have a good shim, you probably don't need to do this step, but I err on the side of not pushing it too hard on the flat surface and then going back and making sure I've gotten it just right by hand. It only takes a few extra seconds, and then you know it's exactly where you want it. And then on the bottom's usually a little closer already. And you can do this with your fingers too, but if you use a flat piece of wood, you get less deformities in the overall finished product. So you can see there, that one turned out really good. Where do these go? All right. Let's do another one. Now overall, I have been pretty happy with this product. Some things that you'll see is they are fragile. Look at this one. This one just came out of the box. It's got a pretty banged up corner. There were probably 5 or 6 out of the last box I just did that were completely just cracked right in the center. And it wasn't the top or bottom one in the box. It was the ones in the center. So I don't know what causes that. I'll introduce a short clip here showing you what a couple of those looked like before and after putting them into the frame. You can kind of see the crack there. I think that'll be okay. It went together all right. You see some of those cells on the top. No, I think that's okay. We'll see if the bees accept it. So, at first I was a little bit worried about it, but then I realized that this is just wax. And it'll kind of just put it back together like a puzzle and just put it on the wire, put it in the frame and just see what happens. And that's what we did. So we're doing another one here. Like I said, you start by stretching and pushing it down. You can see the wood's a little bit bowed right here. So it's putting a strain on it, but I think that will relax once the wax kind of goes outside and it gets a little bit warmer. And then same process, take your positive and negative lead from your battery, clip it to the beginning and end of your frame wire, and then give it about 10 seconds. So time will tell if those broken pieces will hold up. I think they will. I think once the bees kind of get in there and work them a little bit, I think it'll be fine. Stretch and push. You gotta give it a little bit of oomph. A couple of times I pushed down really hard, my hand has slipped and I put a gouge in the wax, which I'm not proud about, but I don't know if that's avoidable. I really do think they made the wax a little bit bigger than they needed to, just to be on the safe side, but it makes you have to manhandle it some. So I'll be curious to see what the bees think of it. We will be putting this in with the nukes we are getting in a few days. So some of these will go in our new concrete hive, and the rest will go in our traditional wooden hives at the apiary. There we go. That looks good. Now we'll do one more for good measure, and I'm only doing 3 of these on camera. I know it seems like this is monotonous, and it is a little bit, but I've found a few of them are a little bit different. None of them are exactly the same. I guess that's just the nature of wax when you are making it from scratch. One thing I meant to point out is you need to make sure this also has the natural slope of the comb or of the cells. See that way it holds the honey and nectar and pollen, and that's down. So you obviously want to make sure that that's facing up. I've been doing that without really thinking about it because I've done 40 of these now, and so it's just gotten to be second nature at this point. But I meant to bring that up earlier. Well, this one seems like it's going to fit really nicely. And then once I get this one done, I'll give you guys a close-up of how these look. So stretch and sit that wire right on the wax. 5 to 10 seconds is all you need. You'll know when it's ready because where the wax touches the wire, it starts to get shiny, and you'll see a little wet droplet of wax, and then that wire will start to sink right where there's tension. Then that's when you know you can go ahead and slowly stretch and press. There we go, that one's going on good. This last one might be the best one yet. If I can keep my fingers out of it. Come on. Ooh, this corner's fighting me a little bit. Let that heat up just a little bit more. There it goes. Okay. Is off. Like I said, this wood piece is completely optional. I just think it helps. I did a couple without it, and I kind of left a few fingerprints in it, and I know that the bees will fix that, but see, this corner is a little bit damaged. Didn't want to go in, so I'm not going to force it because I'm afraid I'm going to tear it. Okay. So it looks pretty good. Look at it like this. Flip it over. This is the corner that was a little bit goofed up. See that? Didn't want to go in. But all in all, very nice. Thanks for watching.